If you're a BCBA who's been feeling stuck, unfulfilled, or wondering what else is out there, you just found your new favorite podcast. This is No Broke Behavior Analyst, and I'm your host, Sarah Burby. I'm a BCBA, board-certified health coach, certified intuitive eating counselor, seven-figure business owner, speaker, mentor, and most importantly, your biggest hype girl. You already know you can use ABA outside of autism, but nobody ever told you how. Well, at least not until now. I love taking the science you already know and showing you how to turn it into consulting, coaching, courses, corporate training, and income streams that don't require a single session note. Every week, we're talking money, business, mindset, and all the ways your skills can take you places the field never told you existed. Ready to build a life you're obsessed with? Let's get into it. Hey there, and welcome back to another episode of No Broke Behavior Analyst. Today's episode is very different than the episode that I had planned, but I just had this realization over the weekend, and I think it's something that is really important. So I decided to have a change of plans and talk about vision today, but not the vision that you probably hear me talk about all the time, not future self. You know, I love future self work, but that's a little bit different than what I'm going to talk about today. And my question for you is, when you think about starting a business, I want to know, what is your why? What is your vision? And I am always shocked when I ask this question to people, what is your why for starting a business? And they don't actually know the answer to that question. It's silence. Have you thought about what is it that you want out of being an entrepreneur? And I was thinking back on this, and I'm like, I feel like for as long as I can remember, I've always been really clear on what it is I want. I don't know. Most of the time that works in my favor. Sometimes it doesn't. And I am just always really crystal clear on what it is that I want. And I am willing to do whatever it takes to get to that point. And so, to give you an unrelated business example, when my husband and I were looking to buy a house, we lived in, if you're familiar with New Jersey, we lived in Mercer County, and it was about 50 minutes to get to the beach. And so we were looking at houses, and I was like, we absolutely cannot live in Mercer County. I need to be within 10 minutes of the beach. I am a beach girl. I truly feel like the ocean heals all things. I need to be able to see the beach every single day. For buying a house, we're living near the beach. And so at the time, my husband and I would take the boat out, and we would go in Monmouth County. He would dry dock his boat, and we would drive around in the inlet before we would go in the ocean and just kind of hang out. And I remember one afternoon, I looked at this neighborhood that we were looking at, and I was like, I want to live there. My husband was like, yeah, me too. Must be nice. And I was like, no, I'm serious. I want to figure out, I don't even know what town that is. I don't even know what that neighborhood is, but I want to live there. It looked so cute. It looked so beautiful. I could see people walking their dogs. There was a little beach area. I was like, I want to live there. And so fast forward, and then probably a year later, the next summer, and we were looking for houses. And I was like, we need to figure out what town that is, what neighborhood that is. And I only want to look for houses in that neighborhood. And so the realtor we worked with, she was like, yeah, you and everybody else, but that's where we ended up buying our house. And we live now a block from the inlet. And I just feel like if I was never super clear on what I wanted, how the heck would I end up there? But I had just total clarity. I had made a decision already that it was going to be that or nothing. And I was willing to do whatever it took to get to that location. And then here we are. Another funny example, I guess, funny or related example regards to our house. And some of you guys know that my husband and I recently did renovations in our house. We had to move out. We were paying a rental fee for the winter in addition to our house. However, I always knew that our house was going to look the way that it does now. And I will tell you why, because there are two other houses in our neighborhood. Every house in our neighborhood looks a little bit different, but there's two houses in our neighborhood that we call our brother and our sister because they look very similar to our house, except our house had a garage door that was like actually closed, and it wasn't actually a garage. At some point it must have been. And so they still had the garage door on the house when we bought it, but it was just like a spare room. The other houses had that like beautiful bay windows, and they both had a front porch. Every time my husband and I would walk by one of the two houses, I was like, I want a front porch, and I want to get rid of that garage door and have a window there. every single time. And my husband would eventually be like, don't even say it. I know what you're going to say. But I made that decision in my mind that that was going to be our reality. And there was just no other way. I didn't know when, I didn't know how. And then fast forward X amount of years later, and that's the exact renovation that we got. But I was always so clear on what it was that I wanted. So when I ask you as a new entrepreneur, what is it that you want? That is a tangible example. That's not the right I'm looking for. That is something that you could buy with money, right? Example. But also think about, what do you want your day to day to look like? I always knew that I wanted autonomy over my schedule. Always knew that. I never wanted to work 40 hours a week because that's just what we do in America, when I could get the job done in 30. And it was so frustrating. Sometimes I remember I would just be sitting in my office, staring at my computer, like basically winding down until it was time to leave. And I didn't have work to be done. I had finished all of my work. And it was frustrating for me. I'm like, why can't I go home? Why can't I do other things if I am more productive than X, Y, or Z person, but I still have to stay there and just stare at the clock? And so I knew I wanted autonomy over my schedule. I knew that I did not want a cap on my income. I didn't want my salary and my income to be decided by somebody else. And so I knew I wanted autonomy over my schedule. I wanted no cap on my income. And I got a little bit of a taste of that when I did more of like a consulting role, where I could kind of build my own schedule. I still had to hit X amount of hours a week, but I could start my day when I wanted and my day when I wanted to. And I absolutely loved that. Once I got a taste of that, I was like, it has to happen. I have to be an entrepreneur because this is exactly what I want. And I remember when I was still teaching, days that we would have off or like breaks or something, I would go to the gym at like 11 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, who goes to the gym at 11 o'clock in the morning? I want to be the person that can just go to the gym whenever I want. And now I get to do that. I get to build my own schedule, a schedule that works for me and my family. And so what is it that you want your day to day to look like? If you say you want money, how much money? How much money do you want to make per month? If you don't even know that, that's where you start with. What is your income goal per month that you want to make? And then take it a step further. What do you want to do with that money? Pay your mortgage, pay your rent, pay for your car, pay for your phone bill. But after that, what do you want to do with that money? Do you want to save it? Do you want to invest it? Do you want to go on vacation? Where do you want to go on vacation? How long do you want to go on vacation? Those are questions that you need to ask yourself so you can get crystal clear and start making that vision your reality, so it is impossible not to happen. And so often we get so vague and it's almost like we don't want to commit to what we actually want because we don't want to let ourselves down. We don't want to admit that we want this thing, because then if it doesn't happen, we'll feel like we gave up or we didn't do enough. Like, say it out loud. Tell everybody what you want. Shout it from the rooftop, and then do what it takes to make it happen. So you have clarity on what you want. Are you willing to now put in the work to make that a reality? I say all the time that owning a business is so freaking fun right now because I have it figured out. And of course, I'm still growing. Of course, I'm still learning. It's a reason I have mentors and coaches, but it's fun. I have mastered certain skills where it is fun every single day inside my business because I learned the skills. I had people teach me. I invested in other people when I had nothing to get me to where I wanted to go faster. To collapse the timeline, I will always pay to collapse the timeline to make more money, because then I can invest in more money and more training and collapse the timeline again and again and again. And when I would go through trainings and coaches and mentors, I always did exactly what they told me to do. So one thing is I've always taken a lot of initiative, and I would never, ever pay for a mentor or a coach who would tell me what to do, and then I would just not do the thing. There was one time in my life where I did not listen to Dr. Stephanie Wigner, and I regret it every single day. And ever since then, I've listened to her, right? It's like the running joke. The one time I didn't listen to her, she was right. So pay for people, invest in mentorship, invest in coaching. And then before you do that, though, make sure that you're willing to do the work to get to the point where you want to be. That is the reason that I'm so passionate about building this community, so we can all do the work together so we can grow together, so we can all be in whatever phase that we're in business together, but we have that support. And someone asked me the other day, I don't even remember which, I think it was a free CEU or a webinar that I did. Someone asked a really good question. They're like, do you have data on how long it takes BCBAs to get to 10K a month when they're inside Clinicians Doing More? And the answer is no. I wish that I did. I wish I could tell you within X amount of months, but it depends on the person, because you are the ROI. I can give you so many resources. What other business community out there charges $97 a month or $997 for that whole entire year, where you get 1 hour a week with either myself, Kendra, Jeanette, Melissa, sometimes all three of us? We're going through every single thing that you need to know inside your business, plus additional bonus training, plus touch points, plus a community where you can ask questions to each other. In no other world does that exist, where you get such high quality resources for such a low price point. And there's still going to be people that join and they do not see results, because we can give you all the information. We can coach you. That's our job, is to coach you. But I can't guarantee that someone going into Clinicians Doing More is actually going to do the work. The girls in our community, I can tell you right now, are making 10K a month and working a whole lot less, because they're willing to put in the work. They're willing to ask for feedback, even when it's the answer that they don't want to hear. They're willing to put themselves out there to try to get feedback, to make changes. I say this all the time. The more that you can implement things imperfectly. That's the other thing. We are constantly waiting around to feel ready and to do things perfectly, and it is holding you back more than you know. Waiting to be absolutely perfect, because here is the deal. It is never going to be perfect. There is nothing that I do, that I put out, that is perfect. There is nothing. I am constantly putting things out imperfectly, but what I am doing is listening to feedback, looking at what went well, tweaking what I would change so I can make it better the next time. And if I never put myself out there, if I never got feedback, even in the beginning when it was like a hit to my ego, oh, change this, she talks too fast, she does this, she does that. It's helpful. I love constructive feedback. What I don't like is feedback that is just mean and not helpful. And you have to like filter that out, right? The more you hear it, it's also like you take it with a grain of salt. But I love putting things out there so I can get feedback. If you have an idea in your brain, it could be the best idea ever. It could make you millions and millions of dollars. But if you're not willing to put it out there and get feedback, you're going to stay broke. And what I tell the girls in Clinicians Doing More all the time is it's just data. We have to learn to take the emotion out of it and look at things objectively as just data. You host your first masterclass and nobody comes. Welcome to the club. It's just data. Let's look at it. Show me your marketing messaging. Show me how long you posted it for. Show me what the outline was going to be for the masterclass. Let's practice what you're going to go through with the group. Let's get feedback. So when people do show up, because it's going to be a time when people show up, you have it absolutely nailed down. There's 5 people there and all 5 people buy your offer. But we don't want to put ourselves out there. It hits our ego if we host a masterclass and no one shows up. Stop letting it hurt your ego. It's just data. It's just information. And that's the other trap we get into, is we put something out there. We put an offer out for maybe a week or two, and then nobody joins up. No one joins our coaching program. No one joins our 6-week program. And then we're like, oh, well, I put it out there and it didn't work out. Nobody signed up. Tell me that after you did it for 6 months or a year, and we've refined it and we've practiced your wording and we nailed down your ideal client and we nailed down your selling strategy, right? 2 weeks is nothing. I am telling you, the reason that I will always win and I will always succeed is because I am consistent. I show up every single day. I showed up every single day when I had no clients. I showed up every single day when it was boring and tedious. And that is why I will always win, because most people stop when it's boring, when they're not getting results the first time or the second time or the third time, and they take that as data of all the reasons they should quit. I just look at it as data. What do I need to tweak? What do I need to change? Thank you. This is getting me one step closer to the offer that's going to make me millions. But I will show up consistently. Are you willing to show up consistently? Are you willing to try again and again and to tweak and change? And again, that's part of the reason we have this community. So you collapse a timeline. So you're not just throwing things around and guessing and seeing what sticks. We help you get there a heck of a lot faster. In our community, I think it was last Wednesday, we had been talking about lead magnets and offers and really nailing down our offer in one sentence, like the elevator pitch, all this stuff. And I love every single woman in our community. And I know that I have a very good rapport with all of them. And I know when I can push them. Because my role in the business community is not a coach. Well, it's a coach, but it's really a mentor, right? And I have to give them feedback. Then when I know they don't want to hear it because I know what's best for them and they're all open to receiving feedback. And so we were having a meeting in the morning. We actually had 2 meetings that one day. And in the morning meeting, someone said, "What are we covering tonight?" And I said, "It's a surprise. I'm not telling you, but you're not going to want to miss it." And I did that on purpose because I knew we were going to practice with each other that night. And I knew if I told everyone that we were going to practice, people wouldn't want to come, people would have had their camera off. And I wanted everybody to practice together in a safe space. And all we did was go into breakout rooms and pretend that we were on an intro call. And we had a new client, potential client interested in doing a coaching call with us or whatever our offer was. You know what everybody said? "I'm so mad at you for making us do that. And I'm so grateful for you." All we were doing is practicing sharing our offer, because that's the other thing. We have so much information in our brain and we want to take in information, because that makes us feel better in the moment. But sometimes we have to just put ourselves out there. We actually have to talk about our offer and we have to do it consistently. We have to do it verbatim to the point that it bores us to tears because we think we're talking about it all the time. And there's people that are still not seeing it. With the way social media is and SEO and all the things, we could post about an offer every single day. I was posting about our health coaching program literally every day for what felt like months. I was so bored of talking about our health coaching program. I love this program, but I was so bored. I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to talk about something different. Then somebody was in my messages asking me about a question. I was like, "Girl, why aren't you in our health coaching program?" She's like, "What do you mean you have a health coaching program?" Oh my gosh. How do you know? How do you not know? I feel like it's all I've been talking about because it's a mismatch in algorithm where she's not seeing everything on the feed or she's not seeing the stories or we're mindlessly scrolling. We're looking at things halfway, right? That's what I mean about consistency, growing our email list. It takes time. It can be boring and tedious at first. And that's why you have to set a goal. Right now I have 0 people on my email list. Okay. How are we going to get you to 5? How are we going to get you to 10? How are we going to get you to 20? How are you going to continuously to show up and take all the strategy that you know and put it to action? And what is going to happen when it doesn't go the way that you want it to go the first time? That is resilience. Being willing to continue to put yourself out there, even when you're frustrated, even when you're tired, even when you're exhausted, even when you don't know what's going to happen. That is resilience, and that is how you become successful as a business owner. The last thing I want to talk about today, when we talk about this vision and knowing exactly what you want and getting crystal clear, is are you willing to become the person that you need to be to step into this next portion of your identity? Are you willing to be the person that makes quick decisions? Are you willing to be the person that speaks confidently? Are you willing to become the person that does things that are boring and tedious every single day? Are you willing to be the person where someday, where tomorrow is no longer acceptable because tomorrow is not it? By tomorrow, all of your competitors have been putting in the work today. Tomorrow doesn't exist in my vocabulary. What can I do today to make an impact? And are you willing to be the person that puts the work in today, regardless of what you have going on? Yes, there are times where I can put so much more work in than others. Days where I'm healthy and my husband's healthy and Parker's healthy and he's in school. And maybe we have, I hired a babysitter after school so I can work a little bit later. And then there's days where he's sick and I'm sick or everything is off or he's off from school and I can't work as much as I want to, because that's the other thing. I will work all freaking day, every day, but that's not always the best. Sometimes there's a competing values of wanting to be with my family and wanting to work. And also it's just sometimes we need to take a break, right? But I love it so much. I get so much joy out of the work that I do and having such a positive impact on other people's lives. But I don't work as much as I want to every single day because of external circumstances. But you better believe that every day I am doing something that drives the business forward. Tired, exhausted, stressed, frustrated, I'm always doing something that drives the business forward. So depending on your circumstances, depending on everybody's life circumstances are different, but I can guarantee that there is one thing you could do every day that can drive your business forward. There's one thing. Are you willing to be the person that does that one thing today, that commits to that? Not for me, not for anybody else, but for you and your business goals. This idea all came to me because yesterday we had the best day ever as a family. In my neighborhood that I was talking about, there's a little man-made beach that goes right into the inlet. And I have a lot of girlfriends that have children around the same age as Parker that all live in the neighborhood. It is so much fun. It's like you see on TV. They're just awesome friends. All of our kids are super sweet. They play really nicely together. So we decide we're all going to bring up our own blow-up pools, and we blow them up down at this man-made beach area, and all the pools are lined up next to each other. Someone brings a slide, someone's bringing snacks, and our kids are just hanging out there all day long. We are probably there from 9:30 in the morning until 6:30 at night, eating, hanging out. Our kids are playing together. I actually sat down in a beach chair for the first time in probably 2 years because I didn't have to run around and entertain Parker. All of his friends were there. And 6:30 comes around, and I look at my husband, and I'm like, do you want to go? Because he has work the next day. I do too, obviously. And he was like, no, I think we can stay for a little bit longer. And I, honest to God, looked around and I was like, I am so grateful that I don't have the Sunday scaries, and I have not had the Sunday scaries in 7 years. And I made a decision that when I decided that I was going to go on in my business, that I wasn't going to experience the Sunday scaries anymore. I made the decision that just because it was normal in our society, we come up with a name for it, the anxiety that we get for going to work the next day. It ruins our Sunday night. It ruins our Sundays. Just because that was normal didn't mean that that was going to be my reality. No, 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 not my reality. How can I design my life where I'm still making a huge impact and not dreading the little time that I get together with my family and spending that time dreading going to work the next day? Not here. And I looked at him and I was like, oh, damn. I never take this for granted. Every Sunday, I'm like, I don't dread tomorrow. And I'm so grateful that we can enjoy our time together as a family and just be present and not going through like the mental list of all the things I have to do tomorrow and all the meetings and reporting to this and reporting to that. I just get to design the life the way I want to. But those are things that are important to me. What are important to you? What is your why? What is your vision? If you do not have that, please, 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 please take some time, take 10 minutes, 20 minutes to really think about that without other people's opinions and distractions. But you need that time. You need that time of quiet and no scrolling on your phone, no listening to music, no, just sit. It feels really weird. Trust me, when you just sit and you just don't have anything else and you're just thinking like, what do you actually want? That is your homework for this week. Get really clear on that and then go back and listen to all the strategy. Next couple weeks, I'll do more strategy, but I just need to make sure that you're very, very clear about what it is you want, because without that, you're only going to get so far. All right, y'all, that's all I have for this week, but I'll catch you next week. Chat soon.